Good day and welcome. You are watching Playing to Protect with Melodie Bissell, the safest podcast on the internet. My name is Josh Bissell, and I'm the producer of this weekly podcast, where we will be tackling topics of safety with a focus on achieving the highest standard of abuse prevention and protection for the vulnerable sector each week. Our podcasts are designed for parents, caregivers, program leaders, and senior leaders of organizations that service the vulnerable sector. Once again, Melodie is back with us today. Melodie Bissell is the president and CEO of Plan to Protect and the expert in all things protection. Melodie is an author, inspiring speaker, blogger, and now podcaster. So welcome once again to Plan to Protect with Melodie Bissell. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. Well, we are at the end of October. It's so hard to imagine that we are this far into 2020, and we're probably all going to be very happy to say goodbye to this year, but it's hard to believe that we are about to enter into November. And as we come to the end of October, we know that many people are celebrating Halloween this week. And today in our podcast, I want to talk about celebrating a safe Halloween. I'm often asked the question, did I celebrate Halloween with my children when my children were young? We lived overseas for a number of years, and Halloween celebrations are not the same overseas as they are in North America. I went out and celebrated Halloween as a child. I can remember dressing up, and I can remember my parents bringing the candy home and putting it on the top of the refrigerator because none of us could reach way up there. And yes, our children did go out for Halloween and they did celebrate. We found that there were so many good things about Halloween and celebrating it with our children. And just a few of the good things that I found really beneficial was it was an opportunity for us to just welcome children to our home and say hello to neighborhood children and ooh and ah over their costumes. And it was a really good opportunity to get to know our neighbors. We would often do parties in our home with children, and it was a really good opportunity to do party clubs and things like that in our home. But there are also many risks associated with Halloween. And I just want to speak to you because, again, we really want to focus on safety. What are some of those risks? A study was published last year by the University of British Columbia, and they found that Halloween is one of the most dangerous days of the year for cars to hit children. So that is one of the real risks associated with children going door to door. Researchers found in that study that children were 10 times more likely to be run over by a car and get into a dangerous accident by running in front of cars, running between cars, and being struck by a car between the hours of 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. The team said one way to lower the number of fatalities is to make some of the neighborhoods where there are a lot of children that would be car-free zone. They also suggested that parents talk to their children and use this really as an opportunity before you go out, talking about how important it is to cross the street really safely, to look both ways when you're going trick-or-treating. There's other risks associated with Halloween is unsafe candy, causing children to choke over candy. I know even years ago, my mother, before we could have any candy, she clearly and carefully inspected the candy, and we did it the same because people have been known to put nails and needles and razors in candy. There are a lot of troublemakers out there on Halloween, especially as the night goes later into the evening. In 2020, we have to be really cautious about how we do trick-or-treating, how we welcome children to our homes, especially because of the spread of COVID-19. Also be aware that some costumes can be flammable and cause fires. You want to be really careful that if you're using some paints, especially on children's faces, that they're not toxic paints, that they are safe to put on skin. Certainly, drivers can be very distracted, and there's more drinking at this time of the year, especially into the late evening if young people are drinking. So, alcohol is certainly a risk. There's also a risk of predators and people who could be out there on the street and want to attack a child or kidnap a child. Another risk would be candles that are put in pumpkins. And if you are using candles on your doorstop, to make sure that they are out of reach of young children. Some of you are opting this year to do parties, and I want to encourage you. I know the Center for Disease Control is really wanting to raise the awareness of the spread of COVID-19. And although going door to door for candy might seem like a super spreader of the virus, it's actually inherently pretty safe, according to Sumantra Chakrabarti, the head of infectious disease at Trillium Health Partners in Mississauga. Sumantra says it's outdoors, it's a short interaction with children. He explains adding that trick or treating in a building like an apartment would be much higher risk of spreading the disease than if you're outdoor. As for the virus being spread on treats themselves, Chakrabarti says that COVID-19 is actually not spread on surfaces. There's still a recommendation that prior to eating the candy, you wait 48 hours, but it's probably not necessary to feel that you need to wipe down every treat that is coming into your home. Parents should always check that the candy prior to eating is safe. And so that doesn't change in 2020 as we have done in years before. If you're going to host a party in your house, please observe the state and province territory guidelines and restrictions for the number of people that you can have in your home. As far as COVID-19 goes, outdoors is so much safer than indoors. While some areas of the country are lifting restrictions, I know in some of the major cities in Canada and United States, there is still a strong warning about doing indoor activity. Some areas of our country are colder. I know that even here in the Greater Toronto area where I am, our temperatures have dipped down to close to freezing. So you will want to bundle up those children. We would really encourage you that if you are going trick or treating, to make sure that you're just staying within your own family unit and keep a strong social distance between you and other groupings. Really try to stay within your bubble or your immediate family as you're going trick or treating. I want to speak also to the issue of whether you're trick or treating or whether you're hosting itself. Make sure that you consider safety. Consider safety if you're the host family. Consider safety if you're walking on the street and traveling with your children. A costume with a mask does not provide the same covering as a mask over your mouth that we're wearing and encouraging to wear during COVID-19. So don't assume that just because your child has a mask on, that that mask will protect them from the virus. Whether you're trick or treating or whether you're hosting, remember that 6 feet apart from people that are not in your household. As I walk along the streets, even now as I go for a walk in my community, I see people that are talking very closely with their neighbors and interacting with their neighbors in parks, and they're not observing that social distance. So I really want to encourage you to observe that social distance. Giving out candy during 2020 or any time, we should be really cautious and careful about snacks that have peanuts. Children are still suffering from peanut allergies, so if at all possible, pick snacks that are peanut-free options. If you are hosting, a good suggestion is to put a table at your door that allows you to open the door, but you stand behind the table so you're a good distance away from the children. Use tongs to give out candy and remove any objects that could be dangerous for young children from your patio, from your deck as they climb the stairs. Nestle, along with today's parent, have partnered together with the recommendation that both families that are trick-or-treating and also host families post a red pumpkin. The red pumpkin says to the community that you are observing social distancing. So you can put a red pumpkin in your window. That allows people to know that you are giving out candy, but that you are observing social distancing. And if your child wears a red pumpkin on their costume, that also tells people that you too are observing social distancing as you go trick-or-treating. I also want us to consider some alternative activities for 2020. Instead of doing trick-or-treating with the children, here's some suggestions, and I've appreciated gathering these from many different sources. There's many creative ideas out there for other options this year other than trick-or-treating that can be just as much fun for your children. You could do a drive-by trick-or-treating in cars to your extended family, visiting also and observing the decorated homes. So many people have decorated their homes beautifully at this time of year, and it's really fun for your children to be able to go on a car tour to show off their costumes to some of the extended family. You can text them when you arrive. They can view you from a distance, and perhaps they can even provide snacks to your children and have a table set out at the end of their driveway, but allowing that car parade by looking at the decorated homes and seeing some of your extended family that don't get to see you very often at this time of year to be able to see those costumes. You could also do a festive video call with family and friends. You could do a costume parade on your street by practicing a safe Halloween. I know in our community, one of the churches in our community is doing a town scavenger hunt that is a safe scavenger hunt outdoors, getting the whole community involved, but stipulating that it is to be a safe scavenger hunt. You could also stay at home, have a Halloween meal together, decorate cakes or cupcakes, have snack ideas, and do a monster movie night. That's another idea that I read about. You could do a Halloween treasure hunt around your home where your children still get so many treats that you have hidden around your home, but it is safe. I know one of my daughters is really into crafts, and she would be thrilled to stay at home, not go trick-or-treating, and just have the family do crafts with her. So that might be an option that would work for your family. You could make gift bags for children's friends and drop them off in advance of Halloween. Another option would be to prepare these gift bags for family and friends that you know that have also been very cautious and careful around social distancing. And you could play Ding Dong Ditch It, where you bring the treats to families instead of going to the door to pick up treats for your children. You could create a treat bag of goodies, and for friends and neighbors, drop a little note in the treat bag telling them that you are ghosting them with a treat at this time of year. I heard that some communities are tying orange balloons on their mailboxes saying that you are welcoming children to trick or treat and that you are creating a safe environment. One of the churches that my husband was pastoring at, we did a party in our parking lot. Year after year, we would put little yellow lights around the fence and we would offer a photo backdrop where it was like a photo opportunity for children to come. Parents could get a cup of coffee and children could come and get their picture taken and have a photo booth set up with their costumes. And it was a great way to get to know your neighbors and your friends and bless those that are in your neighborhood, but give them a place where they can just rest, have a cup of coffee, have some hot chocolate, and have their photo taken. Finally, as we close off today, I just want to give some ideas and tips from the Center of Disease Control. They said that some of the lower risk activities this Halloween is carving or decorating pumpkins with members of your own household and then displaying them, carving or decorating pumpkins outside at a social distance with neighbors and friends, decorating your house or your apartment or living space, doing a Halloween scavenger hunt. These are all low risk activities. Having a virtual Halloween costume contest, having that Halloween movie night with those that you live with, or having a scavenger hunt style trick or treat search with your household or in your own home rather than going house to house. Moderate risk activities, according to CDC, are participating in one-way trick-or-treating where individual wrap goodie bags are lined up for families to grab and go while continuing to social distance. If you're preparing a goodie bag, make sure that you wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds before and after preparing the bags. Have a small group outdoor open air costume party or parade where people are distanced by at least 6 feet apart. Another idea that they gave for a moderate risk activity was attending a costume party held outdoors where people are 6 feet apart. A costume mask where you're using a mask for COVID versus a mask for a costume. And make sure that it has at least 2 or more layers of breathable fabric. Do not wear a costume or mask over a protective mask because it can be dangerous if the costume mask makes it hard to breathe. Instead, consider using a Halloween themed cloth mask. Going to an open door, one-way walk through haunted forest where appropriate masks are used to enforce and people are remaining 6 feet apart. Remember that if they're screaming or singing, that elevates the risk. So you want to lower the risk and removing that fear factor that causes people to scream, yell, or sing. Visiting pumpkin patches is a great activity. It's moderate risk so long as it's not overcrowded. Having an outdoor Halloween movie night with a local family or friends might be a moderate risk activity so long as you keep the numbers down. Again, you don't want to have such a scary movie that causes people to scream because that increases the risk. And then CDC identified higher risk activities. Higher risk activities is participating in traditional trick-or-treating where treats are handed to children at the door. So use tongs. That goes back to my idea earlier about using tongs. Having a trunk or treat where treats are handed out from the trunk of a car in a large parking lot, that is considered a high-risk activity. Attending a crowded costume party that's held indoors. Going to an indoor haunted house is considered a high-risk activity this year where there's crowding and screaming. Going on a hay ride or a tractor ride is considered a high-risk activity. Using any form of alcohol or drugs which could cloud judgment and increase riskier behavior. And traveling to a rural fall festival that is not in your own community, again, increases the risk of the spread of the virus. I just want to close off by saying we really want to encourage you that if you are hosting an activity yourself, whether it be in a school, a church, a daycare, a camp, please make sure that at this time of year and at every time of year that you screen and train your workers. Make sure that if you are doing outdoor activities, either in a field or in a forest, that you have many security staff or hall monitors that are watching and observing the safety of the children. I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope it gives you some ideas at the 11th hour to have a very, very safe Halloween. We want to encourage you to stay safe. Be creative this year. This is an opportunity for you to continue to be with your children, be with your family. Stay safe, whatever you do. Finally, as we close off today, I want to invite your children to join us and participating in our safety book writing contest. We are inviting submissions up to December 15th, 2020. The book has to be written by a child that is in either elementary or secondary school, so up to high school, under the age of 18. The topic of the book must be anything that relates to safety. We have some great prizes that we are going to give out. Every child will receive a thank you letter. The runner-up will receive a $100 Amazon gift card. In second place, you will receive a $250 scholarship. And our top prize winner, their book may be published and they will receive a $500 scholarship. So please, if you've got a child or you know of children that love to write, encourage them to submit an entry for our safety book writing contest. More information will be in the show notes underneath the podcast. Again, thank you for joining us today. Have a really, really safe week and happy Halloween. Bye, everyone.